Sports Podcast powered by Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. If you have tree trimming, tree removal, or stump removal needs, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal has you covered. They can haul rock and sand. They can do driveway work and can even now do horizontal grinding of large wood debris piles. Give Keith a call at 229-314-2048 or at 229-938-2412. Harper's Tree and Stump Removal is proud to be the premier sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, and sports administrators. Now, here's your host, Tim Estes.
Hello, and thanks for joining us. We are live at the Roman Oven Pizzeria. We want you to come by and be a part of the show. I'm your host, Tim Estes, proud to be joined once again by our co-host, Scott Westbrook. And each week, we review the area's high school football games from the previous week and preview the games that are coming up tomorrow night. We're glad to be joined by a good crowd tonight. Earlier, we had the South Georgia Technical College men's basketball team. They're here right now, and they're eating a good supper. We've got some of our friends from Sly County that have just walked in to eat with us, so we'll get to talk to one of Sly County's offensive linemen here in just a moment. But, Scott, we're getting into week 4 of the high school football season, and I'm loving this. The haves and the have-nots are starting to separate themselves.
Tim, we are knee-deep in the season right now, and then like you said, the contenders and the pretenders are starting to separate a little bit, and we've had some surprises both with certain players and certain teams. You know, there's, I think, Marion County, we could say they're kind of a surprise so far. So we'll be able to talk about that a little bit later, but all 3 local teams have games this week, so let's roll.
Let's roll. Scott, we had 2 good games last week. Of course, Sumter County had an open week last week. So we're going to start this week with the Sly County Wildcats. The Wildcats hosted the number 2 ranked Early County Bobcats last week up in Ellaville. And from the very first possession, Scott, of the game, I felt like Coach Darren Alford's team was in complete control.
We said on this show the night before the game, we said that the Sly County players, they better come out like their hair's on fire, because they're going to have to jump on this team early and quick to get them back on their heels. Well, 2 minutes into the game, what was it? 14-0.
14-0. Yeah.
2 minutes into the game. So those late arrivals from Blakely, Georgia, that came in about, thought they'd get a seat and get to watch the game. It was pretty much over by the time they found their seat. And they didn't realize it then, but for all practical purposes, the game was over at that point, because Early County from Blakely, the offense just never got started. They, it was favorable for a wing T team. We had a frog choking rain come, and it just stopped about 30 minutes before the game, but the field was wet and muddy and soupy. And you would think a team like Early County that's primarily running, that would have played well into their game plan, but it did not. The defense for Sly County was very stingy, and pitched a shutout and sent them home with a 30-0 loss.
Let's recap quickly the scoring. Jay Kanazawa, the Sly County quarterback, had a 40-yard touchdown pass to Jaluis Solomon. That got the scoring started. That was just 2 minutes into the game, and Kanazawa was able to take it in the next offensive series. So Sly County scored. Scott, on the kickoff, we pooch kicked, and as soon as the guy touched the ball from Early County, Sly County hit him and he fumbled. We got the football, drove down the field, and Jay Kanazawa took it in on a quarterback keeper. So like you mentioned, 3 minutes into the game, it's 14-0. I thought one of the big things that helped us last week was the fact that Trenton Stubbs came back healthy.
That was an important piece of the puzzle that we needed for to defend against a wing T team, and he stopped it up the middle. They tried to sneak around the outside a good bit, and our defensive backs read it well. Our edge rushers read it well, and kept them very contained and did not let them get an offensive drive going all night long.
Speaking of Trenton Stubbs, he came up with a big hit on the ball carrier that caused a fumble that Sly County recovered. And with 9:58 left to go in the first half, Kanazawa found Kendall Sims in the corner of the end zone. We did miss the PAT. I want you to remember that. I've got something at the end of the show on that, but Sly County missed the PAT, and it stayed that way until the 3:28 mark of the third quarter. And that's when Miguel Yanez Rueda kicked a 20-yard field goal. It gave the Cats a 23-0 lead. Then early in the fourth quarter, Jalewis Solomon made a big-time diving one-hand catch along the sidelines. It was a 47-yard gain. And then a few plays later, Jalewis hooked up with him again for a 20-yard touchdown pass and the 30-0 lead that ended up being the final score. Probably the big story on defense was the shutout from Early County, and Trenton Stubbs played a big part in that. Jack Clark, Ethan Sellers, Brody Smith, that's our linebacking core right there, Scott, and I thought they were a big key in the game last week.
Most definitely. The ball carriers seldom got past that point in the game.
The defensive backs are so good, probably the strength of this defense. They kept Early County from throwing the football the entire game. And so Sly County with a 30-0 win. Remember, Sly was number one in the Georgia High School Football Daily rankings. Early County last week coming in was number 2. So a big win for the Cats. This week, they take off on the road for the first time, and they'll be about an hour and 20 minutes away over in Cochran, Georgia at Bleckley County. Bleckley County is currently 2-0. They've got wins over Dodge County. They beat Dodge in the season opener 10-7 and beat Wilcox in their second game 34-20. Scott, I know you've got somebody in your house that gets a little inside information. What do you know about Bleckley County so far?
You must think my teenager talks to me more than any other. I mean, like most teenagers, I will say he has been watching film. I will say that he's looking forward to this particular game. You know, you look and every message board, every high school football Facebook group, a lot of people are picking Sly to win this game. But the thing is Sly's coming in as a 6-point underdog,
right,
on the Maxwell ratings. And the one thing that worries me about this team is two things can trip us up right now. Injuries. Well, you can't avoid injuries. You can, as long as you properly stretch and play with a lot of intensity, that's the best way to avoid injuries. But something that sneaks up on a team and a culture is complacency. I'm worried about complacency kicking in. I mean, this team needs to go every Friday night from here to the rest of the season with the confidence that they can win the game, but the sense of urgency that realizes they can get beat on any Friday night.
Absolutely.
And we saw that happen last year with Buford. Buford, they ordered their rings in rank 3 and then ended up getting beat in the third round. Johnson County came in and undefeated against Sly last year, and they did not lack confidence. But let me tell you, they lacked the sense of urgency because they thought just because they had an undefeated record and because they had that Johnson County jersey on, they were going to mop the floor with us. And I just don't, I want our team to keep the confidence, because we're going to get Sly County is going to get the other team's best effort. It's going to be their Super Bowl. And so we're going to get Bleckley County's best effort tomorrow night. They would like nothing more than to prove everybody wrong on the message boards and the Facebook groups. But this is something that Sly County is going to need some come in there with a sense of urgency, just like they did against Early County, and jump on them quick, jump on them fast, and get some quick scores and force that quarterback to throw, because he likes to run. He likes to tuck it and run. But let's force him to throw the ball a little more.
We've got Sly County offensive lineman Judah Rabin has joined us, and we're going to get him to slide in here. While he's coming in, we'll tell you what we do know so far about Bleckley County is they rely heavily on a sophomore running back. His last name is Stanley, but he features a 4-person rotation in the backfield. Their quarterback that Scott just mentioned, his last name is Everett, and he's more of a game manager. As Scott said, he's not going to be that guy that commands on the throw, but he's going to manage those 4 running backs that alternate, and he's going to run it himself. Judah, you guys have been watching film and preparing for this all week. Tell us what you know about Bleckley County.
Like you said, they got that quarterback that he's fast, he's very athletic. He likes to run the ball if he has to. And I don't think he's gonna give us many problems. But, we'll see how he does.
Judah, they've had you on the right side at the right offensive tackle spot. As you studied the Bleckley County defense that you'll be blocking, what do you see this week?
They like to run a 3-man front, and they bring their linebackers a lot, and then their outside linebackers a lot. So our tackles are going to have to be on their A game with those outside linebackers. So
you guys are going to have to look for not just that guy in front of you, but the guy filling the gap too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Man, we appreciate you and your family coming. Wish you the best of luck this week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's Judah Rayburn, offensive lineman for the Sly County Wildcats. Scott, as we get you back in here, one thing we do know about Bleckley County on both sides of the ball, both offensive and defensive lines, they're big.
They are. Bleckley County's always big and strong. They've had up years and down years, but they've always had athletes, and they've always had big football players. They've really lipsticked up their facilities over there. I'm looking forward to seeing what all they've done. I've driven by it a couple of times when they were doing some work on it the past couple of years. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they've improved their facilities. But most of all, I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow night and seeing both teams perform, because I know both teams have had this game circled on their schedule since last year when Bleckley County beat Sly County.
Absolutely. Today's program also brought to you by Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance, located at 925 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Americus. Marty and his staff can help you out with all of your insurance needs. They can give you the discount double check to make sure you're receiving all the savings that are available to you. Marty also has a life-size cutout of State Farm Jake. Go by and take a picture with Jake, and like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. So we've previewed and reviewed Sly County. Let's go to the Sumter County Panthers, Scott. Sumter County had an open week last week. Their current record is 0-2, but this week they'll host Crisp County in the annual Battle of the Flint. Crisp is 1-2 on the season. They opened the season with a 34-0 win over Dooley County, but they dropped their last two contests, 50-12 to Westlake, and then 15-14 to Lovejoy.
Sumter County's well rested, well prepared for tomorrow night. This is obviously a big rival game for both teams, and both teams are not what they've used to be. I mean, it was a pendulum there for a while that Americus Sumter, Americus ran the table against them for so many years, and then Crisp County most recently has had the upper hand in this matchup. But as we've talked about all season long, Crisp County's down this year.
Yeah,
and I'm hoping that Sumter County can catch them sleeping a little bit and coming in. They've got to come to Americus to play. Am I right?
That's right.
So there's really no reason for Crisp County fans to outnumber Sumter County fans tomorrow night. These Sumter County players and coaches need to look over their shoulder and look up in the stands tomorrow night and know that the community's behind them. They need to know that. They've had 2 weeks off. They've prepared well for this. I think that if the community really turns out and cheers them on, I think that could give a little bit of leverage to Sumter County. Now, Maxwell Ratings has the Crisp County as a 31-point favorite. I don't see that being the case. I mean, if I was a degenerate gambler who gambled on high school sports, I would take that spread.
Absolutely.
But the reality is, I talk to the guys that I eat lunch with every day. One of them happens to be a Crisp County fan. The others, are both kind of more Sumter County fans. And I asked them, I said, what do y'all think the point spread is on the game? And the highest I got was 20.
Yeah.
Those guys. And that came from a guy who has to go all the way out to Oklahoma to get women. So, I mean, so therefore, I think it's going to be a much closer game than the computer ratings say. And I think that if Sumter County can get a strong local turnout tomorrow night, they might slip up and surprise Chris County.
Sophomore A.J. Kearse is expected to see more playing time this week for the Panthers. He's recovering from all-season knee surgery. A.J. played a little bit in the last game. I think now that they've had the open week and he's had an extra week to heal, they're expecting him to carry much more of the load. But this is going to be an old-fashioned slobber knocker. The Cougars are balanced on offense. They have 254 yards passing so far on the season and 310 yards rushing. So you can see they do a little bit of all of it. Quarterback Markevian Hardage is the key to their offense. He's a dual threat type quarterback, and they have several guys who will carry the ball. I guess their featured back is probably C.J. Jones. He gets most of the carries. Coach Will Rogers' Panthers will be entertaining their first home crowd of the season, and the first time all season, they need your support. So go out and see the Sumter County Panthers as they host the Crisp County Cougars in the annual Battle of the Flint. All South Appraisals is another one of our sponsors. They're your trusted partner in appraising rural properties in our area. All South Appraisals can handle all types of property, agricultural, commercial, and residential, from vast farmlands to that charming country home. They specialize in rural properties that define the heart and soul of our community. Their commitment to accuracy and dedication to understanding the unique nuances of rural properties is what sets them apart. They blend modern technology with old-fashioned attention to detail to provide you with an appraisal that you can trust. Whether you're a lender, an attorney, an accountant, or the real estate agent or broker or the property owner, give All South Appraisals a call. Their number is 478-837-3818. Again, 478-837-3818. That gets us, Scott, to the Southland Academy Raiders. Southland plays Gatewood School this week. The final score of their last game, I don't have it was 14-7.
Yeah.
14-7 over Westfield. I picked against Southland last week.
I got the receipts.
I'm sure you did. I thought that being at home in Perry, Westfield would take the win. I thought they might win 14-7, and it was a 7-7 game until late in the game. The Raiders got on the scoreboard last Friday night when quarterback Bank Simmons found sophomore receiver Mac McMichael in the end zone with 50 seconds left to go in the first quarter. Cooper Boren kicked the extra point. I want to shout out to Cooper. He's a good friend of ours, came up through our rec program, and we hadn't mentioned Cooper yet this year, but he did a great job last week with the kicking duties for Southland. It was a defensive struggle all night for both teams. With 3:30 left to go in the first half, the quarterback that you and I talked so much about last week hit his receiver. So Braden Gay found Stone St. Clair in the back of the end zone for a touchdown with 3:30 left to go in the first half, and the score was tied 7-7. The entire second half was played between the 30s. Neither team could seem to sustain a drive, but both defenses really played well the whole night. Finally, with a little over 2 minutes left to go in the game, Bank Simmons connected with Allen Stick on a 42-yard strike, and Boren's PAT was good, and Southland held on to a 14-7 win. Scott, that's a big win for the Raiders.
Not only that, it got them on the plus column. They're 2-1 on the season. That puts them in the contender column. They celebrated it's a much shorter ride from Perry to Americus after a victory like that. So happy they came out on the winning side. I had a gut feeling and went with it, and I got a pretty big gut. So I'm glad that Southland came through, and I was vindicated after tripping up earlier in the season.
That's right. Maybe I'll be vindicated this week. Southland again host Gatewood School. Gatewood comes into the game 2-0. They've got a 35-0 win over Trinity Christian out of Dublin, and they've got a 62-6 win over Augusta Prep. I'll talk a little more about that when we get to predictions at the end. But both of those teams that they played, Trinity Dublin and Augusta Prep, are winless on the season. Gatewood is a Class AA school in the GIAA. They only have about 30 on their roster, but they do have some talent. They're coached by a really good coach in Jeff Ratliff, and they're led by junior quarterback Ames Johnson. Gatewood went 5-7 last year, but they do return 14 starters from last year's team. Their strength of schedule, here's something pretty neat, Scott. Their strength of schedule is rated at a negative 28.9, which is the lowest in GIAA Class AA. And Southland will be the best team that they'll play this year on their schedule. The Raiders have certainly been battle-tested early in their season with their matchups, and we look forward to telling you good news, we hope, about the Raiders next week. Scott, this is one of those games that the Raiders need to come out of the gates early, get a lead, keep tacking on points in the first half, and then Coach Rod Murray can get a lot of guys some playing time.
Southland's favored by 4 in this game. Everything you just read about strength of schedule and all, I don't think 15 to 18-year-old kids pay attention to that. What they pay attention to is they've only given up 6 points in 2 games. So they're going to come out with their chest bowed out a little bit. The defense is probably going to be a little bit overconfident in their abilities. So Southland needs to come out and score early, score fast, get them back on their heels a little bit, just like Sly did versus Early. And once a team who's played 2 games only giving up 6 points, you hang 14 on them in the first quarter, suddenly that strength of schedule starts showing its ugly head.
Scott, one thing we've noticed about Southland Academy so far this year, it seems as each game progresses, their quarterback, Banks Simmons, seems to be getting more and more comfortable. His completion ratio is up. And they're 3 games in, 4 weeks into the season. And this is that point that I think Coach Rod Murray says, okay, the jitters are over. Let's see what you can do.
Well, this is what they've been preparing for. That's like you said, at this point in the season, not only do the teams and the pretenders and the contenders come out, the same happens with the players. The players can start separating themselves and proving that, hey, I'm more than just just somebody playing quarterback or playing receiver. I'm going to be an impact maker. I'm going to be a change maker. I'm going to be a playmaker in the game. And this is going to be the chance for them to show that tomorrow night and, right here in the middle of the season when some people typically take their foot off the gas a little bit.
That's right. Wanted to make sure we mentioned a few more Southland players in talking to their coaching staff this week, finding out some guys that are really doing a good job. We've mentioned Mac McMichael. He had one of the touchdowns. Mac's just a sophomore. He's the grandson of former Southland head coach Lovard McMichael. Lovard, a tremendous coach for many years here in the Americus area at Southland Academy. Mac's dad, Brian McMichael, was a really good athlete for the Raiders back in his day, and he's really starting to come on strong. Ashton Ray, the son of Randy Ray. Ashton has got really good speed. He's been playing well for the Raiders. One of the guys that was mentioned to me this week is a freshman, and it seems like he was just playing rec baseball a couple of years ago and may have been, but freshman Turner Simmons has gotten some good playing time, and he looks to have a bright future. On the offensive line, Jackson Avant. Jackson is another kid we've known for a while. He's a big kid who's really solidified himself along the offensive line for Southland Academy, and he's been a big part of their success so far. So good luck to the Southland Raiders as they host the Gatewood School Gators. We have a new sponsor this week. One Digital is one of our new sponsors, and we'll bring you more information about One Digital beginning next week, but want to thank them for reaching out and becoming a sponsor here on the Integrity Sports Podcast. Scott, before we get to the next section of our show, I want to take this break for just a moment to mention that our show, the Integrity Sports Podcast, I felt like got a big boost of confidence this past weekend as we went over to Auburn University and were a part of a meeting to meet Coach Hugh Freeze. They met with what they consider small market media, and we got to be a part of that. So I want to thank Coach Freeze and the Auburn Athletic Department for giving us that vote of confidence. And we look forward to building that relationship even more. As we get to a few of our other area games this week, Scott, let's start with Marion County. They're always one of the teams we like to mention being in our area, and we do have several viewers from over in the Marion County area. They'll be on the road at Hawkinsville.
Marion County has a little momentum right now, and so it's a ride to Hawkinsville from Buena Vista. I understand that, but they're playing well. They're doing well. Coach Law has them firing on all cylinders. Hawkinsville, just like Bleckley County, has dropped a dime or two on their facilities over there. They got a fancy new carpeted field, and Hawkinsville's always had what I thought was great facilities, but they've even have better facilities. But that's not going to do them any good when they place Marion County this week, because I think Marion County's got the momentum and they'll go in there and win that game.
I think you're absolutely right. If you're a Marion County fan, they have a brand new school over in Hawkinsville, but they still play football at Bobby Gentry Stadium. And just like Scott mentioned, they did re-turf that field with synthetic turf, so it ought to be a good night. The big game in this area, bar none, Lee County. The Trojans head down to Moultrie to take on the Colquitt County Packers. That's a huge one.
That you better be camping out for a seat on that one. That is, even as big as their facility is down there in Moultrie. I think it's going to be a huge game. It's regionally, not just the two teams. They're going to be fans. There's going to be a lot of fans that maybe have an off night, and that are going to come to that game. Maxwell's got it as a toss-up. Got it 0. Nobody's favored to win it. In a situation like that, I typically go with the home team.
Yeah,
I got to go with the home team. I think that Colquitt County will squeal out a victory against the Trojans only because they're at home, and they're probably not going to get the benefit of the calls that they would probably get in Leesburg.
Talking with James Kling from down in Moultrie, he feels like the Colquitt County Packers are as good as they've been in many, many years. We know what Lee County is, seeing them every week. So I expect this one to be a good old-fashioned slobber knocker as well. Several of our listeners and viewers are from the Deerfield-Windsor School. And Scott, last week they stumped their toe. We both felt like they should be the favorite as they went up to Locust Grove to take on Strong Rock Christian. But Strong Rock came out on top 27-13. This week, Deerfield-Windsor will play host to Southwest Georgia Academy.
Strong Rock historically has not had a very good football team, so I thought that was a no-brainer to pick Deerfield-Windsor against that in that game, but it didn't shake loose the way we thought it was going to. I'm going to think Deerfield-Windsor should probably win this one, get back in the maybe that'll put them at 500 if they win this one.
That's right.
So I think I'm going to expect Deerfield to win this one. If they don't, then it's time to start getting a little nervous down in Albany.
Start bouncing the basket.
Perhaps so. I don't know.
Two teams that are open. I want to say hello to, first of all, to the folks that are leaving now. We've had several that have been here watching us, and thank you for being here. Come on in. We've still got a few more minutes left. If you're around the Roman Oven, stop by and see us. Scott, two teams in our area, both are open this week, but I want to talk about them real quick. First, let's talk about Taylor County.
Taylor, they went down to Montgomery County this past week. I think they won. I'm trying to think. Okay, they won. Okay, all right, good, because it was a close game.
Yeah,
it was a close game. And so I think Taylor is doing well. I think they have the quarterback Cameron Lawhorn is starting to find his way. Getting a little more confidence and passing the ball and throwing it downfield. The running game at Taylor County has always been good. It's going to be good with DJ Jenkins, but they got a week off this week, get to rest. I don't know who they got next week. I'll have to look on the schedule and see. But Coach Byram's got them going the right direction, and I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see them doing well.
Well, one of the things you mentioned, Scott, after week one, Taylor County dropped a tough loss to Southland Academy in the opener, and you were real quick to say, hey, Taylor County fans, don't bring the pitchforks out just yet. This team can turn it around, and it looks like they have rebounded pretty well. and we wish Taylor County the best of luck after their open week. Another team, we said the haves and the have-nots are starting to separate themselves. One of the haves is definitely Macon County. Macon County moved up to number 3 in the Georgia High School Football Daily Class A Division II rankings this week. You've had a chance to see Macon County. Tell us about the Bulldogs.
Macon County, historically, passing team. They've always found strength in the passing, but they've got 2 really good running backs. I think number 0 and number 4, I think, are the 2 that really had a good night against Clinch County. When I went to the quarterback, he did well also in passing down the field. But Clinch County's not well known for having a good defensive secondary. So I was really kind of surprised that they didn't pass more against Clinch County. But Macon County is Coach Copeland starting to get them firing on all cylinders, and we'll see them in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. It's time for the Booger Bottom wrap-up show, brought to you by the Booger Bottom Yacht Club. They've been voted numerous times as the best burger in Sumter County. They are located on Lamar Road. They're on the banks of Lake Blackshear. Stop by there and see Miss Sue or Rick, Russ, Renee, or any of the staff there at Booger Bottom, and let them wrap you up with the best burger in Sumter County. It's that time of night where Scott and I make our weekly predictions, and this has been a lot of fun. We've caught a little ribbing from this, Scott, but we're going to kind of stick to our game and try to be true to what we actually think. The first game I want to talk about, Scott, will be Bleckley County and Sly County. And here's a couple of notes. Bleckley County comes in as the number 4 ranked team in Class A Division I. Class A Division I. They're 2-0. The Maxwell rating system has Bleckley County as a 6-point favorite over Sly County. What are your thoughts?
It's easier. I call it Big A and Little A is what I call it. Sly number 1 and Little A, Bleckley County number 4 and Big A. My thoughts are, if Sly County can avoid complacency, play with intensity, play with sense of urgency like they did last week against Early County, if they can go into every game knowing that they're going to get the best effort from the team on the other side of the field, they're going to get, it's their Super Bowl. The Sly County is number 1 in the state, and so they have got the big bullseye on them every single game. So that the most important thing is just to come out strong at the beginning of the game and just kill the spirit on the other team. If they do that, and which I think they will tomorrow night, they will be the victor tomorrow night. It may not be a 30-0 game, but I think they'll win tomorrow night, regardless what Maxwell ratings say, regardless what happened last year.
You heard it first right here from Scott Westbrook. He's picking the Wildcats. I'm going to disagree with you this week, Scott. We've done that a time or two on here, and it's hard for me to do that. Hey, there's Doug Gooden. As the voice of the Wildcats, I try to be impartial. And when you look at the Maxwell rating system, they've got Bleckley as a 6-point favorite for a reason. When you look at what Sly County has done throughout the season, it's hard to find a chink in the armor. They've just really been good. The one place that they've had a little bit of a hiccup is we've missed a couple of extra points on the season. And with Bleckley County as good as they are and being at home, I'm going to say it's going to be a 28-27 victory for Bleckley County. Let me clarify this now. I hope I'm wrong, but if I'm going to be honest with myself and say, if we look at the numbers, we look where it's at, what would happen if I had no emotional attachment? I'm going to pick Bleckley County 28-27, and I'll say that I hope that I'm wrong. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's your show. You've got every right in the world to be wrong when you disagree with me, so I'm okay with that. I give you the freedom to be wrong whenever you want to.
Crisp County is a 31-point favorite over Sumter County, and I, like you, Scott, think that they have missed the mark on this. Here's why. Crisp County beat Dooley County 34-0 in their season opener. Dooley County is 0-3. They're not very good this year. Crisp squeaked past Lovejoy 15-14, and Lovejoy is 1-2. Their only win is over a winless Jackson team. Okay, so keep that in mind. Crisp County lost in a blowout to Westlake, and Westlake is 3-0, and they're a good football team. So out of their 3 games, they've played 2 teams that are very, very down. They've played 1 very good team, and they're 1-2. Sumter County is 0-2, but they've lost to 3-0 Houston County, who we all know is a powerhouse here in middle and southwest Georgia. They lost to 2-1 Westover, who's a much, much improved football team under their new head coach. Sumter County is definitely battle tested. I don't believe that Crisp County is battle tested. But here's a wrinkle to throw in it, Scott. Don't know yet if Jakari Wise, the running back, the featured running back for the Panthers, will be able to play. If he is able to play, I'm going to go with the Panthers in the upset. If he's not able to play, I think Crisp County will win one close.
I think a lot, just like what we've said, I think that the trap that Sly County could fall into, I think it's easier for a team like Crisp, who's had such a long chain of success against Sumter County, to come in and think that just because they're getting off the bus and lining up and strapping their helmets on, they're going to win. If Sumter County comes out fully staffed and has a good crowd tomorrow night and keeps it close, I think they can win. I don't think all 3 of those things are going to happen, though. I mean, if you ask me to bet on that 31-point spread, I think it's going to be less than 31 points. But I want the fans, the Sumter County fans, to prove me wrong. I want them to show up and show out and be loud tomorrow night. Let them young men, let them coaches know that you're supporting them. And I want the Sumter County players to play with confidence that they can beat them. But that's going to take a culture change in Sumter County. And I haven't seen evidence that that's taken place yet.
Let's hope it starts tomorrow night.
I hope it starts, and I hope I eat my words, and you got the receipts to prove me wrong. But it's going to take the community involvement, and it's going to take confidence in the players. The coaches are going to do their job. I know they're going to do their job. The players have got to change the culture, and the fans have got to change the culture at Sumter County. Sometime. Tomorrow night's a good time to start.
And one thing that we can say for sure, we've seen this with our own eyes, those players and those coaches at Sumter County are working hard right now. It's not from a lack of effort.
I want Sumter County to get out and know that they can beat that team. They need to know they can beat that team, and the fans need to let them know they're supporting them.
All right, so that brings us to Southland Academy. Southland Academy is 2-1 on the young season. Come on in and sit with us. Southland Academy's 2-1 on the young season. They've played Taylor County and Marion County and a very good Westfield team. This week they'll take on Gatewood, who's 2-0. But here's what I wanted. This is the teaser that I gave you, Scott. They're 2-0. They beat Trinity Dublin, who is 0-3 and has only scored 3 points all year in those 3 games. And they've played Augusta Prep, who is 0-2. And they've been blown out in both of their games. In fact, they've been outscored 106-6.
So what you're saying, those 2 teams are struggling a little bit.
They're struggling a little bit.
Okay.
So, right. Scott, I'm going to let you pick first, and then I'll go after you.
Southland's making it easier for me each week to pick them. So this is a slam dunk. I mean, they need, but as they start to experience a good bit of success, then the same thing can happen to them too. What I've talked about with Sly County, they need to go over there, confidence they can win, and make sure and play with the intensity and the sense of urgency that team can beat them, and we're going to make sure they don't.
Absolutely. Hey, a good friend of ours, Bubba Lewis, has joined us in here. Bubba, glad to have you. And a reminder, if you're around this area of Roman Oven on a Thursday night, we're here every Thursday night starting at 7:15 for the Integrity Sports Podcast. We'd love for you to come in and eat supper with us. Join us as we broadcast this show. Scott, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to pick the Raiders this week. I think Southland wins this one in a blowout. Maxwell Rating Systems says that Southland is a 5-point favorite or a 6-point favorite. I can't remember exactly what the spread was.
They're favored by 4.
Favored by 4. I think they've missed the mark badly on this. When you look at the two teams that Gatewood's played, they definitely have not been battle tested like the Raiders have. I'm going to pick the Raiders by 21 or more. I think they'll get a big win. You agree with me?
I agree 100%. Yeah, I think these Maxwell ratings, a lot of it, I think I mean, I obviously don't know what goes all in the computer ratings, but I think they look a lot at what last year's records were and carry it over and see what the teams did last year. So usually early in the season, you can't rely on these as much as you can maybe later in the season.
So we are completing our show for week 4. Again, remember, tomorrow night, Sumter County has their first home game. They'll host Crisp County. Kickoff is at 7:30 over at Finkley Robinson Stadium. So if you're a Panther fan, make sure and get out for that. Southland Academy hosts Gatewood School over at Harvey Simpson Stadium on the campus of Southland Academy. Hope all you Raider fans will have a good night. And then if you're a Sly County fan, Sly will be traveling over to Cochran, over to Royal Stadium in Cochran, Georgia, to take on Bleckley County. Scott, your final thoughts on week 4.
We got anything in the live chat? Did you check it?
I haven't.
Let's look and see.
We'll check it real quick.
And then we'll.
I don't see any in the live chat unless you can read that one.
Comping and cooking with Corey.
Okay.
We got a couple. He's go get it, fellas, and go Wolves.
All right. So we must have us a Buford fan in there.
There you go. That's all right.
That's right.
My final thoughts. We're getting right now to the middle of the season. This is the time. You know, it's easier to get the kids fired up at the beginning and the end of the season. In a lot of cases, right here in the middle, sometimes they took their foot off the gas, and the pretenders and the contenders. The pretenders will take their foot off the gas, start listening to a round ball bouncing, and the contenders will sit there and stay focused on the goals that they set early in the season, and will continue to go to the figure out their way to close out and win the region championships, and the ones that will go on and make strong playoff runs. So the middle of the season is important, obviously, as the beginning and the end. So we're in the middle part right now. So let's just keep the foot on the gas.
My final thoughts, I hope as we are doing our show next week in week 5 of the season that we can say all 3 of our local teams got wins. It's always better for a community when your high school football teams are doing well. Whichever high school football team you support, get out and support them tomorrow night. They need your help, and we look forward to bringing that to you next week. And we want to thank you for being a part of the Integrity Sports Podcast and making us a part of your weekly routine. Please go to YouTube, find us on YouTube, and go to our channel and hit the subscribe button. We are trying to reach the 1,000 subscriber mark by the end of the high school football season. Also, remember to follow us on Twitter, which is now called X, and that address is the @ and then a capital ISP. And then lowercase SWGA. That stands for Integrity Sports Podcast, Southwest Georgia. But follow us on that Twitter page. We also like to try to get you to update that page each Friday night with your high school scores so that we can announce that at our stadiums. We are also available not only on YouTube and Twitter, but on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on several other podcast and social media platforms. For Scott Westbrook, I'm your host, Tim Estes. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.